I thought I'd make a quick video to post some impressions about the new mobile phone I've got from Lenovo, which is the Z6 Lite, and is also known as the Z6 Youth Edition and the K10 Note. It's slightly confusing marketing from Lenovo, but the phone's very good. Its build quality is not too bad at all. The action on the switches is pretty decent, and this is all for £132 sterling from AliExpress. There's a green and a black edition, and I ordered the green, but unfortunately that's been quite popular, so as you can see the retailer shipped me the black edition instead. The screen's fairly high resolution. The chipset is a Snapdragon 710, and that's quite good for this price. So if I just open the settings here and go to about the phone, you can see the Android version is 9. The amount of RAM is 4 gig. I think there's also a 6 gig model available, and the performance and battery life, given it's a 4000 mAh battery, should be pretty decent. In terms of downsides of the phone, well, it's got quite a nice GPS chip in it, which is the Alistar 8040, but the software for it doesn't seem to have been sorted out on this kind of global ROM edition. So it works for Google Maps, but it only gets about a 3 to 5 meter accuracy on it, and it should be doing much better than that. It's advertised as a kind of 1 meter accuracy GPS system. The GPS doesn't work at all on other programs like Waze, so there's still a bit of software updates and bug fixes that need to be rolled out. Otherwise, the screen's nice and responsive, the colors are pretty good, the HDR compatibility and the Dolby stuff seems to work for YouTube videos, so apparently that was an issue earlier on, but that's now been fixed. The general system in terms of the camera works reasonably nicely. It's got a slightly lower megapixel count than some of its competitors, so I think it's only 16 megapixel, and you find some of the manufacturers have fitted 48 megapixel sensors, but the higher the megapixel number, the less light is likely to get into each of those pixels. So I think the camera on this works quite well, and there's a bit of AI enhancement and processing, so overall the images seem pretty good to me. Unfortunately, I haven't got one of the 48 megapixel sensors to compare it to. Another downside might be the lack of optical image stabilization, and I don't think this phone has NFC, although I've not actually tried it. But given the price, it's much cheaper than most of its Snapdragon 710 rivals. It's pretty good, so unless those are features you want to pay a bit more for, then you'll probably be quite happy with this. It did come with a couple of games which I got rid of. There's another application which I think is called Truecaller, which seems to be integrated in such a way that you can't easily uninstall it, so that's a bit of a pain. And my understanding is that that system tends to send data off to some server in terms of your contacts, so that's not very good. But yeah, the overall performance, the look, the quality and the price are all very nice. I've not really done a speed test on the 4G system, but I've got no reason to believe it shouldn't work. So my impression so far of this phone is quite good. I'd be willing to recommend it, but it depends a little bit on what your expectations are and how much you're willing to pay.